Hello friendos schmendos us, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be teaching you how to sort Python lists. You might notice something very slightly different this week, which is that I actually have a microphone. You will no longer be listening to the sounds of traffic going by, maybe a little bit because it might still pick up a little bit, but it will drown out a lot of it, and so you'll get a very nice audio quality, I hope. So let's enjoy that and get into the video. We will start by creating a list that we're gonna be working with, and this list is just gonna be made up of strings to start with. So let's call it something a bit more interesting than just list one this time. We're gonna call it sports because our list is gonna contain some different types of sports. So we'll put tennis, cricket. I need to be careful not to actually put these in the right order. So let's mix this up a little bit. Squash. A lot of bat and racket sports. Let's do some football. Athletics. And what else is the fun one? Table tennis, which I actually quite like. Let's create that list. Now we're going to apply the Python list sort method to this. And the way that we apply Python list methods is the same regardless of the method, pretty much. So in the previous videos we used things like index and append and extend. And if you remember, we always put the name of the list, so sports, and then we put the method, and here we're using sort, and actually it has optional arguments in the sort method, so we don't actually have to put anything within these brackets. So if we just run it like this, and then we print our list, you'll see that this has actually reorganized our original list that we made, and it's put it in alphabetical order. So we've got ascending from A all the way up to those beginning with T. And then when it can't actually differentiate between the first letter in the list, so here we've got table tennis and tennis, when the first letter is the same, it will then just automatically go to the next letter in the list and just sort by those. So it will always be alphabetical by first letter, then by second letter, and so on and so on. So this is a pretty simple method to use. What if we want to actually put this in reverse order? So what if we actually want to start with the last letter in the alphabet first, in this case tennis, and we want to end with athletics? So for this we actually put in an optional argument within that. So we do sports.sort, and then we put the optional argument in here, reverse. This is actually called a parameter, and when we put parameters in the arguments for methods, we have to put an equals, and then we set that equal to something. In this case, we are setting it equal to true because we want the list to reverse. So run that and then print sports again, and we have it in reverse order. There is another pretty fancy way that we can actually sort a list, and that's by the number of letters in each item in the list. So we start with, if we're doing it in ascending order, we basically end up with the first word in the list being the word with the fewest letters, and then the last element in the list will have the most letters. So from just looking at it here, it's likely that tennis or squash will be the first item in the list, and it will actually be interesting to see which one it decides to put first and whether it actually decides to sort alphabetically as well. And the last one in the list, I assume, will be table tennis. So to just give you an idea of what we're actually doing, the general syntax that we use when we are sorting a list is the list name dot sort, and then where we've put empty brackets before, there are two possible arguments that can go in here. or parameters that can go in here. The first one is reverse, and that is equal to either true or false. And its default is to be false. And so if you want it to just be in ascending order, like the first one, we actually just leave that empty. If we want to put it to true and we want to put it the reverse order, so the last letter in the alphabet first and then going back down towards A, then we actually put that parameter in like we did here. So that's the first parameter we have, and the second one, which we're about to work on, is actually called key. And this is where we actually input a function. And this function essentially determines how this list is going to be sorted. And we are going to start by writing this function. So we're going to keep this super simple. If you don't know what functions are yet, then don't worry. We're not going to do too much into this. I think I will go into functions in more detail in a later video. For now, don't worry about it too much. We're just going to create a super simple function and we're going to sort our list using this function. So we're going to call it myfunc, and in here we are going to put my list. And what we want our function to do is to return a value, and we want that value to be the length of the item in our list. And to get the length of an item, we just put len, and then whichever item we're trying to find the length of. And actually this doesn't find the length of your list, so I'm going to change this. This finds the length of an item within your list. I'm going to run this, and you'll see that it actually doesn't do anything, it just runs successfully, that's fine. And it has saved this function within, or it's saved this line of code within myfunc now. So as an example, I'm just going to feed in a variable to this. So myfunc, and I'm just going to put in code with Sophie. And from this, we will get out 16. And so this is an example of what we can do with this piece of code and with this function. We put in a string and it gives us the length of that string. So how do we put that into our sorting list method? Well, we write out our list, which is sports.sort, as usual. We're going to ignore the reverse argument here, the reverse parameter, and we're just going to look at the key. So the key in this case is myfunc. And what this will do is it will automatically feed every item within sports into this function, and it will sort that list by whatever it is getting out of this function. So what it's getting out of this function is the number of letters in each word, or each item, because we've got multiple words per item in some of these, in one of these. And it will then sort this whole list by the output of this function, which is the length of the items. So let's run that. Let's print out sports. And interestingly, it actually keeps them in the order that they're in already. So it puts tennis before squash, even though they have the same number of letters, and squash technically comes before tennis in the alphabet. I almost questioned myself there, but S does come before T. So it basically just keeps it within the same order as it's in here, and it just kind of reshuffles it a little bit depending on what has more letters than the other one. I'm just going to go through one more example, and we're going to create a new list for this, and I'm just going to call it numbers because it's going to be a list of numbers. And I'm just going to put some random numbers in here, run that, and then we're just going to try doing numbers.sort, print out numbers, and there you go, we have the numbers in ascending order. So it works as well for numbers. Now that I've run that, I'm actually going to do a mixed list, and I'm going to put in a combination of numbers and letters, and we're just going to see how it organizes those. So in my mixed list, I'm going to put some starbursts, which I definitely didn't spell right there. Starbursts. Skittles. 64. 5. Sherbet lemons. I'm putting in my family favourite sweets here actually. Let's put some Cadbury. Probably going a bit overboard with this list, but just going to keep it a bit interesting. I have done a real pattern here. We've gone 2 strings, 3 numbers, 2 strings, 3 numbers. Okay, that was not deliberate, but that ended up quite nice. So mixed list, we are going to sort our mixed list, mixedlist.sort, and it actually, interestingly, does not work. I actually haven't tried this before. That is quite interesting. So you can't have numbers that are bigger than letters, and you can't have letters that go after numbers in the alphabet. But you can actually, and I'll just do this quickly, you can put numbers before your words. And I think it should sort based on those numbers. Let's quickly try that. And yeah, it does. So we have 3, 6, 8, 9. But you just can't sort a list with a combination of different elements, or you will get an error. So I hope that was helpful and it gave you a good example of what you can do with the sort method in Python lists. A couple of ideas of putting in functions and sorting it in ascending or descending order. So as usual, if you have any questions, please put it in the comments below. I mean, the only person actually watching these videos at the moment is my partner Roman. So Roman, if you're watching this, please put some questions in the comments if you're confused about anything. And if not, then I guess stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching.